There are a lot of leaders who lead with manipulation. They make people feel insignificant. They take a small mistake you make and they magnify it times 1,000, make you feel this big, like a tiny, insignificant person. They think that their manipulation is what's keeping you under them, working for them. And it could be a boss, teacher, coach, parent, friend. It could even be somebody who's not even your leader, that they just put themselves in a place of leadership over you. They give you advice all the time that you're not asking for. They're coaching you through things that they don't even have figured out themselves. Like there's so much inside of manipulative leaders that can make you actually have a false sense of worth, a false sense of yourself. They can make you feel like you've done things that you can't even ever be forgiven for. And what is this epidemic of manipulation and manipulative leadership that seems to be just even more rampant than it's ever been?
Great question. And here's what's ironic, right? Right. The reason for manipulation is insecurity. Leaders that manipulate are extraordinarily insecure, but they don't come across insecure. They come across bullying. It could be up here, bullying, or it could just be controlling.
They come across bold.
They come across aggressive, like they know everything. So you have to understand that a leader who manipulates is manipulating because they're insecure about their own abilities to lead. Leadership is influence. And when you're not influencing with positive ways that are helping people around you grow, you're manipulating them for your own purpose. I had a life-changing experience when I worked for a leader that was a manipulator. He was a control freak. I mean, it was crazy how much he wanted to control the whole situation. And I was this close to quitting.
Was this a job?
It was a job.
Okay, so like a boss.
It was a boss, yeah. And I was this close to quitting, and I called one of my mentors, and the mentor said, before you quit, you need to understand that you were put there to learn all the things not to do as a leader. And so that changed my life because to this day, I'll tell people, if you're working for a leader that's controlling, that tries to manipulate you, embrace how that feels and make sure you never make people under you feel that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Manipulation is, it is really, it's abusive. It's abusive.
It is.
And you can go away feeling, I mean, you can feel devastated. You can feel worthless. You can feel like you don't measure up. And we're talking about situations that you can learn from, you could grow from, you can get better in, you have potential. But if a leader crushes your spirit and he brings you down with just criticism and wanting his own way, just because he wants to feel power over you, learn from it, but you better not stay around long.
And you better not make anybody else feel that same way.
Learn from it.
Learn from it and don't repeat it. Is there like going back a little deeper into the manipulator, like the actual person manipulating, you said that they're usually insecure in their own leadership. So to make themselves seem like better leaders, they're constantly pointing out flaws in people below them, because if I can point out your flaw and you work for me, not you, but somebody who works for me, if I can point out your flaw and you work for me and I can help you work on your flaws and just say, yeah, you messed that thing up again, but no worries, I'm here to help you. Or like this false, even I've seen some manipulation happen in leadership where it's this false sense of like building you up just to tear you down, or tearing you down just to build you up and make yourself like you are really failing and struggling in this area, but don't worry because I'm here to help you out. But you never actually,
Mhm.
that leader never engages in helping them out. It's just this constant cycle of
Right. And
up, down, up, down.
and understand that's control
Hmm.
because that leader knows when he has somebody good working for them, but they don't want that person to feel good so that they can continue to control. Or maybe not even, and maybe not give them a raise and everything else that goes along with manipulation and control.
If they see someone who has a lot of potential, they may be threatened, maybe.
Totally.
Like, I don't want this person to look better than me because
Yeah.
they may take my job.
Totally.
Which is ludicrous because if you're the leader, wouldn't you want your people to be better than you because then you'll get promoted too? Like, wow, you did such a good job leading this team. They're so good that I want you to lead a bigger team. Like,
Yeah.
shouldn't everybody be trying to grow at the same time? Or like, what's blocking that manipulator's mind?
Insecurity.
Where
Totally insecure because you're exactly right. So the leader that I worked for, right? This is crazy, humorous. He would go through employee after employee after employee after employee
really?
of really good leaders. But he was so insecure and could not lead them that he would get rid of them intentionally so he could tell the board of directors, I don't have a good staff around me. And the reason I can't get to the next level is because my staff is weak. So once again, the insecurity forced a leader that could have had a dynamic organization with dynamic people. It was a revolving door.
It's like the comfort of it's other people's fault.
Mhm.
The comfort of blaming somebody else to make yourself look like, hey, it's not me. It's, it's Johnny and Sarah. They
Yeah.
just can't get their work done. So I had to let them go. And
Yeah.
even though they possibly were
Yeah.
high
exactly.
performers, it's just that. And where does that insecurity come? Like, where does it start?
Oh, who knows? Who
Right.
knows, right? That,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if you can answer that question. So, but you need to avoid it.
Yeah.
And one of the ways, I think the opposite of what we're talking about is the concept of extreme ownership,
Mhm.
to where a leader really recognizes they need to take ownership for everything. Now, they can't blame themselves for everything, but if they have people that need to be coached up, let's get them coached up before we just criticize them.
Yeah.
Before we just nail them. That whole thing of criticism too is just is really disturbing because there's so many people in the workforce with so much potential. One word of encouragement can lift you up. I remember we were talking about earlier in the show, we
Yeah.
were talking about making mistakes.
Yeah.
Both you and I remembered mistakes that we made when we were under the age of 10.
Yep. We were talking right before this episode.
That's
yeah.
how impacting that is, right? So when you're young like that, if you have somebody that can come around you and show you how that mistake was not a life-changing mistake at all, and that you can learn from it and you can grow from it, you're going to grow up being a confident risk taker versus insecure, hold back. I don't want to make a mistake because I was belittled and humiliated the first time I made that mistake.
So you're saying kind of the opposite of a manipulative leader is an encouraging leader.
An encouraging leader, and a leader can do that even with an adult group of people. He can create an environment that says it's okay to make mistakes here. Matter of fact, I tell my team all the time, if you're going to get thrown out going for a double, go in head first. And what that means is it's okay to make a mistake. Just make a big, aggressive mistake. You go for it, okay? And if they do, I actually did that with a baseball team, a young group of kids.
Yeah.
And and I wanted to push them to be aggressive. So every time they got thrown out sliding in, the whole team would stand and applaud them. We would reward aggressive mistakes.
We tried our heart out, it's like I love that.
And we wanted to build that confidence and that risk taking in them. The controlling, manipulating leader will always keep you on edge. It will keep you from trying new things and being creative and being adventurous, and it's not fun.
So kind of shifting over to that fun leader to work for, that encouraging leader, because that I've worked for encouraging leaders too. I've worked for people who they get their point across, and this, like, say for example, I deliver a video to a client who I'm doing work for, and they don't like it, or they don't like a part of it, and they want it changed. I've heard feedback in two types of ways. One way is belittling feedback, like, yeah, this just isn't it. That's not it. That's not how I want it. I don't know where you're going with that. Kind of this way or the other. Then I've heard, I love the direction this is going. What if we added this to it?
Mhm.
And what if we added that to it?
Mhm.
And they're still getting their way,
Mhm.
but they're getting their way in a way that makes me feel like I'm actually adding value and encouraging, or being encouraged and doing a good job. And it's like that kind of leader, because manipulation seeks to control, but leadership also, I mean, leadership is about, I don't want to say control. It's not about control, but it is about achieving a goal, which you do need some sense of, things that you can control. You need some
Mhm.
controllable items, but that doesn't mean you have to micromanage and control everything and everyone just to get a
Mhm.
product or a
Mhm.
thing out and achieved. Like, you don't have to do that.
Mhm.
You can encourage people towards achieving
Sure.
instead of manipulating them towards achieving, which often results in underachieving. Because
Yeah.
people aren't willing to even try things because, well, what if I fail at that? I'll just do the only things I've learned that have been okay. I'll just do those forever.
Right. Right. Yes, leadership is about having goals. Absolutely 100%. But you're right. Let's just take sports. What athlete goes out there and is thinking, let's say baseball, I can't miss this pitch. I can't miss this pitch. What wide receiver goes, I better not fumble the ball? What quarterback goes out, I better not overthrow? If they're thinking negatively, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, and I know that's a simple illustration, but point taken is that leadership with goals, with expectations, with all of those things are good. We're not throwing those out the window. But how do you do it? How do you motivate and how can you encourage somebody?
A manipulator says, you better not make that mistake again. Kind of like, or don't make a mistake. Don't do that. Don't do this. And an encourager says, do this.
Two important words.
Do that.
Two important words. The manipulator uses fear.
Yeah. The manipulator's always focused on the things you messed up and not and belittling you, and the encourager's always focused on the things you're doing well and how to keep doing better at those.
The manipulator uses fear and is concerned how he looks. The good leader uses positive motivation and wants people in their organization to grow and succeed, because like you said earlier, then everyone succeeds. Everyone is a success when the team wins.
Yep. Everyone, is it Craig Rochelle, or is it just the Global Leadership Summit in general? But everyone wins when a leader gets better.
Absolutely. That's the summit.
Yep, the Global Leadership Summit, which is an awesome conference that's actually coming up tomorrow as we record this. So
I'm going to be there.
With that, when you're looking for a leader to come under, look for a leader who encourages you, allows you to take risks, allows you to make mistakes, but also challenges you to get better and better and better for you. And they're not concerned with how they look. And if you're in a situation where you're working for someone who doesn't sound like that, but sounds like that manipulator person, take some notes on all the things that you don't like about it. Promptly seek new employment.
Yes.
And if you can get out of that, do it. And take those notes and remember how you feel so that when you're leading, you never make anyone else feel the way that you felt. And with that, we thank you so much for joining us on this episode of 5 Ideas. We have plenty more episodes that you can watch right after this or listen, whatever platform you're on. And you can get encouraged and stay encouraged in each of the 5 categories that we discuss on the show. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode of 5 Ideas.